Nyisd meg az alkalmat. Ezt föl kell raknom magamra? Tartod. Aha, jó. Vagy így? Mit szóltok egy ilyenhez? Így jó lesz. Okay. Welcome everybody. My name is Balint Beni. I'm the CEO of Beni Studio, and we are the organizers of this workshop series. And I'm really happy that that a lot of people are here. And at Beni Studio, we believe in knowledge sharing. This is why we always share the latest cutting-edge solutions through our workshops and on our blog and in our LinkedIn group as well. So feel free to join our special workshop VIP LinkedIn group. You will get the invites after the workshop. And today is a special day because now we will, something is happening. Okay. Yeah, great. So we prepared with really nice slides. And as the slide said, we should know about Beni Studio a bit. So we are a consulting company, mainly focusing on medical technology in the US. And we do mobile development, cloud engineering, and IoT integrations as well, so pretty much end-to-end development. And part of our life is to learn new things, as now, today, we will play a bit with the OpenAI API and how to build on top of that. And it's a really unique workshop because usually we use JavaScript, but today, you can use any languages, but the example will be in Ruby on Rails, which is a really good technology. Yeah, and we use in a few projects this as well. So let me say thank you to our supporters and co-organizers, McDaniel College, Maryland, and also to our team, to Vicky, Fati, to pulling this together, and to Tommy supporting the speakers. And let me introduce you, our two fantastic speakers, Zsolt and Beni, and let's start to build something amazing on top of OpenAI's API.
So welcome everybody, let's get started. Our first slide is about what are we going to do today. First of all, we will try the main use of the OpenAI API or the ChatGPT. We will build a small chat app, and we will talk to a doctor about our pains and aches, and because we were asked to do some medical stuff, and after that we will talk to Master Yoda because it's fun, and we delve into the force to get some power for the second part of our workshop, where Beni will show us how to build an HR app where we get some information like an industry and a position for position where we are hiring for, and we get the experience level of the candidate, and we have OpenAI to create a personalized survey for us on these details. We will display it on for the candidate. We will fill this survey, and upon the answers we will evaluate the candidate if it fits to our job or not. So what topics will we cover during this workshop? First of all, we will see some basic prompt engineering. We will do a request to OpenAI API, and of course we will process the response. We will see how we can get a stream from the API. Maybe you have seen that on the ChatGPT you don't have to wait for the response, but you see it as it see it word by word. That's what we will use, and we will try to have ChatGPT to write some code for us. For at the beginning we wanted to have more of this, but on the tests we saw that actually ChatGPT saw so we couldn't really get consistent code for everybody, and it made us a lot of trouble. So we will try to do some code with ChatGPT, but not too much. So let's see, just to be on the same page, what is GPT. GPT is a generative pre-trained transformer. It's a neural network. It works like our brain. There are cells, we call it nodes, and these nodes have connections, and that's this ChatGPT is trained with deep learning, which means a lot of data was presented to the neural network with the transformer architecture, and it's a natural language processing processor. It uses tokens to understand the words, which means that every word that we enter will be tokenized, converted into a number. These numbers are presented to the AI, and the AI responds with numbers, and these numbers are transformed into words again. So ChatGPT 3.5 has 175 billion parameters, which means these are the weights and biases these nodes have. The weights are the connections between the nodes, and the more heavy a weight means that that connection is more important and used more frequently, while the biases are the transformations in the nodes. So let's see what is OpenAI API. So with OpenAI API we input messages, and we get choices as an output. The messages are to get the whole context, as OpenAI doesn't store any of our conversations, so we have to store it ourselves and present the whole conversation again and again to the OpenAI to have the context. So we send an array of messages, the whole conversation, every time we talk to OpenAI. There are 3 roles in these messages. One role is the user, what I, as a user, type. The other role is an assistant, what the AI responded. And there is a special role called system, which sets the plot. You can set up how OpenAI behaves with the system role messages. You can set the temperature or top P. OpenAI says set one of them, which means how the AI should use the weights of the connections. If the temperature is low, it will use only the heavy weights. If the temperature is high, actually it's a float between 0 and 2. If the temperature is high, it might use the lower weights when deciding which connections to trigger from the node. And of course, you can, besides that, you can penalize or reward certain tokens and penalize frequency. Like if you don't want the AI to repeat certain tokens, and what the output is, what we get from the AI are choices. Usually we get only one choice, but you can have multiple choices, and which means that the AI will generate you multiple responses, and you can choose for yourself which response fits you the best. We will only use one choice in our workshop now, but that's about it. And what is ChatGPT? ChatGPT is actually gives us a graphical user interface for this API. It persists our conversations, and actually it's using temperature 1.0, which means it's somewhat creative. They say if you use higher temperatures, the AI gets creative, and also while we enter data using the ChatGPT, the AI will be trained upon the data, and point in Sinatra, you simply specify which kind of request it is going to be. As you see, you can say post or get, the endpoint, and what is the response. You just return the response, and it will send it back to the browser. So that's about our current application, and let's get started to do some things. First of all, we will created another separate file, because we wouldn't want to add these texts to the original file. So let's open the messages RB, and here at the OpenAPI to respond to every question we add in the chat as a doctor. So let's start it with the here's the system message we have sent. After that, here is the user message. And for a longer conversation, of course, it's... Oh, where are we? I already did that. So, actually, this was the first part of our workshop. Now we will take a break, and then Benny will do the heavy lifting, and he will try to convert to hash the response that the AI gives us. And so if you have any questions with those things that we have until now, please ask. So just to get back, here is we have sent the whole conversation with all the messages, the system message and the first question and the first answer, the second question, and that's why we can ask something like that, because in this case the AI knew the context that I was asking about the Hitchhiker's Galaxy, and he could answer for the question why, which has in itself, there's no without context, there's no meaning. But as we have sent the whole conversation, the AI could understand what was the what why meant. So thank you for your attention for the first part. Let's have a break, and Benny will continue after this, and we will create a simple HR app, and we will try to process JSON in this part. Thank you very much.
prompttal. Ezért nem is kell.
Nagyobban legyen?
Vagy legyen nagyobb, meg szerintem az is, amikor írtok, akkor mindent mondjatok, amit írtok.
Okay. Hello. Can everybody hear me? Even in the back? Okay. So let's continue with our little workshop, and we will do a nice HR app. The main concept is we will have 3 drop-downs. Actually, we already did the HTML templates for them. We are going to get going to select an industry, a position from that industry, and an experience level. And from these 3 data, we are going to create a personality test, which will have 5 questions and 4 answers for each question. And from these answers, we will evaluate our candidate to see if he's going to be good for that position. So let's get started. First, we will do a little bit of prompt engineering. Let me pull the repo. And as well with the Medic and Yoda, we are going to give a little bit of context to the OpenAI. So you are a recruiter who is recruiting for a company in multiple industries. And then you want to give a personality test for each candidate. This is a short context, and first of all, we need to get a list of industries. We will not hard code them into our application, but we will get from the OpenAI. And for that, we need to be the response in JSON. So actually, let's try it in ChatGPT. Give me a list of industries. And we can see that ChatGPT, we will get a nice human-readable list with numbers and some side notes that it's not an exhaustive list, and some sentences before the list. So we will have to say, give me a list of industries. And we will say that the response should be in JSON array format. Should be a JSON array. Let's check it out in ChatGPT. And we can see this JSON array is quite known to this AI model, so it will give us a good formatted array, but it's a bit inconsistent. Sometimes it gives a JSON array, sometimes it not. Sometimes it will give some other sentences before the array. So it's a good rule of thumb that we need to specify the response as well as we can. So we can give an example. Example response. And with this, usually 99 times out of 100 we will get a JSON format, but we will also need to tell them that do not add any markings or notes to the response. Or else sometimes even the API will give us a few extra sentences that we don't need. Okay, I think we have all the prompts for the first dropdown, and we will need to write some code. In the OpenAI demo.rb, go to the get/recruit endpoint. And in that, we need to start a conversation again. And the start prompt will be a system prompt. And we will use the messages.recruit to give some context. Okay, then we will, and like with the chat, we need to do, or we want to do it in a different thread. So thread.new, do, and between do and we get an industries property. That will be the OpenAI response, but before that we need to store a message. It's a user message, and this will be the prompt that we written earlier to give me a list of industries. Then we can use the OpenAI response, but this response will be a string. So we need to parse, and luckily Ruby has a nice parser, JSON.parse OpenAI response. Yes, and then we need to send this response to the front end with the same settings dot sockets dot each curly brackets and pipes. Thank you. And I think it's industries, the ERB template, and the last part we will need to, or before that we need to send the whole skeleton of that HTML file, and we use the ERB recruit template. Yes, this is our template. It's mostly the same as the chat. We are importing the Turbo package. We are setting up Turbo stream source to the WebSocket endpoint and setting up a container div. The only thing is that we will be showing a loading screen in the content container. The loading is actually just a little bit of string, not really anything special. Yes, let's try this out. And we can use the recruit endpoint. And it will ask for patience. Yes, and actually we got that 1% response where we not really getting JSON, but Markdown that has a JSON. So let's try it again. And it's working. Actually, this is a good example that it's sometimes still a bit inconsistent, even if we give example and do some prompt engineering. Okay, at this point I think I will commit to the repo, so if somebody is stuck, you can pull that. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hands and I will try to answer them. Okay, so as you can see, actually we did the code for the position and experience level endpoints because it's basically the same as before, but we need to store the previous answers in hidden inputs. Obviously, in a real life application, you want to do some more robust session handling than that. Okay, so let's go on. We need to do the prompt engineering for the next two stages, but we can actually copy and paste. And the only difference is that we need to get a list of positions in, and with a hashtag and curly brackets we can insert a string into our string. So industry, and in our example response we should change it to position 1, position 2, and with the same idea we can go on with the experience level, only we will need a list of experience levels in position. So we need a list of experience levels inside positions and industry. And also the example response should be example level, experience level. Yeah, so let's try it out. Let's select IT industry. From the IT industry, we can select, let's say, a network administrator and an intermediate level. So we get the three inputs, and there is actually our skeleton for the personality test. But we need to write the prompt for the personality test. And as you can see, OpenAI is a bit slow on the response. And we don't really want to make a 5-second or 10-second loading screen in our application. So we will use a cool feature from the OpenAI API that it can stream the response for us, and we can show the personality test as it generated. So let's go to the messages.rb and start to write our prompt. You want to employ you want to create a survey to determine a candidate personality. You want to employ them for a position for a, let's say, experience level and position inside a specified industry. So what we did is basically given the context and the output from the previous dropdowns. Actually, from that we would get a nice survey from ChatGPT. Let's try that in a new chat. And it's a really good example because we can see that it does create a survey, but not in the exact format we want. Sometimes it's a question on a scale, sometimes it has different answers, so want to specify a bit our response. So we can do that. The survey should have 5 questions. This is just to limit the response time a bit. And we don't have number. Okay. Each question should have 4 answers. But we also want to specify that we don't want questions like how would you rate this candidate or how would this candidate answer. We want to ask the candidate, so we want to specify it in the prompt. The questions should ask the candidate directly, and also we want the questions to be indirect, and it would be better if they focus on that specific job. So the questions should be indirect and focus on situations that this person may encounter during work as a position. Okay, so this should give us a pretty good survey, but we need to think about the format. We could ask for JSON, but the problem with JSON is that we can't really parse it during generation, because we will be missing an ending, a closing tag until it's generated. So we need a different kind of format, but luckily we can specify our own format to OpenAI, and it will try to follow this. So we can have an example response. An example response, let's say, start every question with Q. A question. And every answer with an A. And for safety measures, we will give another example. And most of the time it will give us a good response, but actually we would want to make a bit more precautions. So explicitly say that every question should be marked or must be marked with Q, and every answer must be marked with A. Again. Yes. So this should give us the correct format, but we will but we will need to parse these questions because it's a format which is given. And this is the part we promised, that we will write code with ChatGPT. And we have tried it before, and this can go really well or can be a disaster. So let's try it. I will open a new text file to write my prompt. But before that, to understand the code, let's go to the stream request helpers.rb. And let's take a look at the stream OpenAI helper function we have written. It uses the same HTTP request that the OpenAI response, but we set the stream boolean to be true. And with this, the OpenAI will not send us a whole response, but will send the response in chunks. These chunks are usually the tokens that are given. And what we need to do is collect these chunks in an array, and while they are coming, parse them. From the OpenAI documentation, we know that if the content is done, then it's done, it's the end of the stream. And we can call the stream processors appropriately with a little boolean tag saying that it's ready or not. And what are these stream processors? Basically, they get the collected text, parse them to JSON, and with the sockets, they send a personality test or a partial personality test to show. And it's almost ready, but we need to write this parse text to JSON. And this is what we want ChatGPT to write for us. So give me a Ruby method called parse text to JSON that parses, receives text and gives Ruby hash with questions and answers. We need to tell that it will be give us a Ruby hash, but in Ruby we can use different keys. So we need to tell that use strings as hash keys. And let's give an example input. And this example input is the same as the example response from the previous prompt. And example output will be array question. Answers and an array of answers. Okay. This looks good, and oh, let's try to give this to ChatGPT and let's see what it gives us. So we tried this a few times. Sometimes it works from the start, sometimes it doesn't. There is actually a good meme about this, that before ChatGPT you write the code in 3 hours and debug it in 6, and after ChatGPT you write the code in 5 minutes and debug it for a whole day. Sometimes it feels like that because you need to try to understand what it wants. So let's see, we split the text to lines. It looks good. We have a questions and answers array, a current question, current answers. And actually, from that I know that it won't work because it usually generates 3 types of answer codes, and where the current answer is in a different variable, it usually doesn't work. So let's try to generate. Okay. Lines, strip. Yeah, this looks good. So let's copy the code and go to streamprocessor.rb and paste it. Okay. And if the app is restarted, let's try our personality test. Okay. Usually there are times where a lot of people is using OpenAI. It will be really slow, and probably right now a lot of people is using it. Okay. Let's select IT. Let's select software developer and a senior software developer. And let's see if our code is working. Oh, wow. Okay, so this is a time where we didn't have to debug our code from ChatGPT, but it's kind of the rarer moment. Usually we have to do some digging. Okay, I think I will commit this to the repo, so if anyone has problems with their code, it should work. Okay, and if you take a look at the console, we can see that actually this was our response. These are the chunks. We can see that we get JSON, and the content is just one token. So ask for help. And this is why we can show the generation of the personality test and not just completed test. Oh, okay. Some random error. Does anyone have a question right now? Okay.
Do you know any real-world examples when an app is working this way, that sending engineer prompts to the ChatGPT and trying to parse what it gives back?
I think it's a pretty new way, as this whole hype around ChatGPT is pretty new. But I don't know, do you know?
No, but in just a few days ago, ChatGPT introduced improved its method to help to get JSONs back. So if you read about, they just announced that they are trying to improve you getting something back. Actually, you always have to keep in mind that you will not receive what you want, and you have to take some fallback or retry or something when the response is not what you want, because it's so
It's like Ruby.
yeah, you cannot rely on that you will get a response that you want for sure.
Like one more thing is, like, you set the context in English, and if the user asks in a different language, it works, right?
Yeah, actually,
It's fine. It's fine. I write as you state, and I answer. I ask, like in Chinese, the model understanding.
yeah, actually, a lot of a lot of documents were taught, and of course you can talk to the ChatGPT in Hungarian for sure. We have tried that, and I don't know how many and which languages are taught to it, but I think you can do it in many languages.
Even you can give the language parameter as in some system parameters, or with some API parameters. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure, but I don't remember anything like this. For sure, for Hungarian, it is a bit sluggish, the language that it provides, so it cannot really, because Hungarian is a lot more complex than English, so and probably a lot more English were taught to the model than Hungarian, because Hungarian is a small language also, so it depends on how if it's a huge language with lots of documents that were taught, so but actually yes.
Do you think, like, whether it is translating and generating response? Like, actually they have the data in English, I mean that models everything in English. When the user is typing in Hungarian, it is translating it into English and then asking the
No.
no.
It's not translated. It has the knowledge in English and in Hungarian,
Okay.
and in every language a different knowledge actually.
But translation would work, no?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, but you have to do the translation in a different step for yourself.
Any other questions?
And are you currently using ChatGPT for any of your customers?
This
Building some similar boards?
no, this is just a playground.
No, not this one. I mean, in general, I mean, you have clients for whom you have built some solution with ChatGPT.
No, currently not. we are playing and learning this actually.
Okay, so actually, after this, we only have one step, and is to evaluate the responses. And this will be quite easy prompt. You want to employ a person in a team for a given position in a company which operates in industry. On a personality test, the candidate answered as well. And this is the part where we need to give the answers. If you take a look at the personality test ERB, we can see that the input will be a hash where the key is actually the question and the value is the answer given to that question. So we need to join them in a string, and we can do that by first converting the hash to an array. This way each element will have an embedded array. The first element will be the question and the second will be the answers. So we can map these to a string. Q.0 Q1, and after that we can join them with a new line character. Okay, and then we need to ask for an evaluation. Create an evaluation of the candidate personality on the above answers. And then consider the risks and advantages of employing this person. Okay, with that we should have all the code that's necessary for our application. We can see that in the OpenAI demo.rb the evaluate endpoint is already created. We use the same stream OpenAI code, but with a different processor, because this will be just a text. We don't need to parse it to any JSON or anything like that. So actually, let's try this out. Let's say healthcare. Pharmacist. As we can see, the questions are not about code and deadlines, but actually things that a pharmacist should consider. And well, let's give some answers. And from the evaluation, we can see that my random answers actually have a strong potential for success. But if we give a more considered, if we think more about the answers, we can see that it will create pro points and negative points from your answers and try to assess the risk. Okay, and I think that concludes this little workshop. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And yeah, I will commit the last part so you can try this out actually. And thank you for listening to me, and I will give the work to Balint.
Yeah, thank you guys for this amazing workshop, and let's check who managed to have something similar result to Benny today. Oh. Nice numbers, and I hope that all of you learned something. And after the official workshop part, we start a gathering with a few beers, with pizza, and we most likely will play with these beautiful darts as well. So feel free to ask your questions to Benny and Joel, and continue the discussions around latest innovations, cutting-edge technologies, because this is why we are here. And let's start the drinking and eating. Thank you for joining today, and we will notice you when we organize the next workshop. So it will come pretty soon. And in the meantime, please join our LinkedIn group, so you will update it with latest solutions and our published workshop material as well.